And here's one of the things I started praying. God, heal the parts of me that don't want to be healed. Because those were things I didn't want them to be healed because I didn't know what they were. And I wasn't very anxious to find out what they were either. But that's what I think these 18 months did for me, is it made me see those blind spots in my life that I could start correcting.
So what
Well, now that I'm perfect, no, I'm sorry, go on.
What seemed like an unkind response was really a gift.
Absolutely, yes.
This was a maturing, it's almost a graduate school. Not that we ever graduate till we're with
right.
him, but God was refining you. That's what Peter talks about in 1 Peter. Finer gold, the testing of your faith.
And we don't like it, of course. And so in the book, what I've tried to do is not just tell my story, I mean that too, but what I was also trying to say is there's some things you learn in the dark. There's some things you learn in the darkness that you cannot learn any other way.
I wonder if that's why Isaiah refers to the God saying, I will give you the treasures of darkness, riches stored in secret places. You found the riches. You're thankful for this.
Oh, absolutely. There's a wonderful story, I think it's in 2 Chronicles, Isaiah, time of Isaiah. Hezekiah welcomed ambassadors from Babylon, which was hardly known then, and showed them the treasury and everything. And there's a little editorial comment there that said that God hid his face from Hezekiah to see what was in his heart.
He was pretty proud of all those treasures,
right,
wasn't he?
See, and I read that verse and I thought, I got it. This is a wonderful time for me. God already knows what's in my heart. For me to find out what really is in my heart.
You needed to see what was in your heart.
Yeah, I did. I didn't want to. Yeah. Yeah.
What would you say to someone who, and here's the danger, that in the desert place, in the wilderness, and it's part of the Christian journey, it's going to happen at least once, probably more than once. The danger is that we assume that God doesn't love us. We lose our faith. I've got the book titles on my shelf. When God disappears.
Yeah.
If God lets you down. You know, these are written by Christian leaders
Sure.
who have come to this place you're describing.
Yeah.
The danger is we do retreat. We bail on God, and we miss the refining that's preparing us for greater service, deeper faith, a stronger walk.
Oh, absolutely. And I think one of the things is it's because I did believe in God that I could go through this. And, you know, I did go through the initial thing of checking out, you know, have I sinned and all that kind of thing. And I think that's really important, search your heart. But when you search it and God shows you nothing, then the only thing you can do is either abandon your faith or you say, God has a greater purpose for this. And that's how it was with me.
How did you know the 18 months was over? How did God show up?
Just little glimmers. I began to have a sense of God's presence, not just momentarily, flickers. I wrote a book a number of years ago about Admiral Byrd and the first a group went to America, Little America in 1928, 1930, and it was totally dark from August till April. And when they knew that light was going to start coming back, they got on a flagpole, and so the person could sense the first rays of light. Well, that's how I felt about it. Just like I got that first glimmer, and every day or two it would get a little brighter. And after maybe a month, I had this wonderful sense that something was right, better. And one of the men I taught Sunday school class, his name was Scott White. He came to me just shortly after this. He said, something's different about you. And I said, oh, really? He said, yeah. He said, and I said, what? He said, I don't know. But he said, you have a glow that you didn't have before. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I didn't tell him my story. I just thought, thank you, God. See, I wasn't aware of any difference outwardly, but apparently people did with whom I talked.
You know, this isn't a weird experience from some hyper-faith person from Atlanta. The scriptures say we are all being transformed into his likeness with ever-increasing glory.
Except we tend to resist it because we
have to work with it.
Well, we want all the blessings. We don't want the responsibility and everything that goes with it. And so I think the trouble is it's like when you get hurt. you're so focused on the hurt that you want to get rid of it instead of saying, what can I learn from this pain?
What's lovely here is that this relationship is so precious to you that when there's even a sense of distance or alienation, it's a crisis for you. And there's some watching who don't know that God, that Jesus Christ, this is not a God we just believe in, but we enjoy the pleasure of his company. I'm sure, Cecil, you would not be the author of over 114 books that are so faith-building if you weren't drawing on a very real relationship. And I want people to know that tests are not new to you. Oh, my goodness, which one came first? Your wife's cancer. This is just one.
Yeah, wife's cancer came first.
This is just one chapter, and of course a book to chronicle some of the lessons learned when someone you love has cancer. This was a terrible shock, of course, initially. And you're a stranger to cancer.
Not from my side. Shirley's, except for Shirley's mother, all of her living relatives, all of her relatives had died of cancer. I think there were like 8 or 10 of them, I've forgotten. And so Shirley one time laughingly said, in our family we grow things. And then they discovered she had cancer, breast cancer, and they thought it had metastasized. They weren't positive, there was some problem with the x-rays. Anyway, they knew she would at least have to have chemotherapy. And they didn't know. They honestly were very saying, look, we don't know how serious this is. They were able to say that. And Shirley handled it better than I did.
So even in this dark chapter, there were precious lessons. Things that have shaped you and changed you. Oh, Cece, no wonder you have to keep writing. I just wish you didn't have to get all these goodies by such a challenging path. Some of them definitely were just almost aghast. And yet the beautiful thing here is the presence of God in all of it, in every chapter of your life. You know, it's good to be reminded that the enemy tempts us to destroy us. God tests us to refine us, to bring us closer to him, to make us more like him, and more RFA, as Dr. Alan Redpath used to say. Christians need to be ready for anything. Cease? Don't cease.
Thank you.
Come back soon.
Thank you.